Suppose you are a guy who has been living in the Philippines for a while now, or you are a guy who has been traveling to the Philippines already a few times. You dated Filipinas, you dated a lot of them, you had great fun, you enjoyed. But now you are hungry and you want to try a different country. And you head over to Vietnam. Yeah, because you want to see how are the girls over there, how is this whole dating experience, how are the dating dynamics. And maybe you were up for a very rude awakening because things work a little bit differently in Vietnam. And this is what we are going to talk about in this video. Vietnamese girls versus the Filipinas. We are gonna talk about the biggest differences between these two women, which are actually based also on the differences in culture, but of course I also will share some commonalities. Biggest differences which also can lead to certain obstacles, right? And I also will share with you later which women I prefer, which women most likely is the best marriage material, although I'm not married to either one of them, but I have colleagues, I have friends who are married either to a Filipino or to a Vietnamese woman. And we're also going to talk about what to pay attention to when dating these two different women. Yeah, there is of course this Philippines fraction, the Philippines party, men who swear on the Filipinas, who say they are the best woman and blah blah blah. And then you have also the Vietnamese fraction, now men who say the Vietnamese are the most gorgeous women, best marriage material, and blah blah blah. Similar, and then you have also the Thailand fraction, you know. So this is the thing. Most of the men I know, I've spoken to, actually were a little bit disappointed when they came from the Philippines straight to Vietnam because, first of all, of the age gap and the language barrier. You know, age gap in the Philippines is not so much a big, it's not a big issue, yeah. But it can be an issue in Vietnam, and of course the language barrier, right? But let's start with the commonalities. So, of course, Vietnam and the Philippines are two Asian countries. This is obvious. They are both Asian people, and therefore they share more or less a common cultural background. Yeah, this is similar to Europe, for example. You know, I'm from Germany, as you may know already now. And French people, Italian people, you know, yeah, we speak different languages, but we also share a lot, you know. And if an Italian or a French guy, or let's say if a German guy, a French guy, and an Italian guy is traveling to China or the Philippines or to Vietnam, you know, the local folks here in Asia, they cannot even tell who is a German, who is a French, who is an Italian, right? So they are Asian. There are of course, both of them, Vietnamese and the Filipinas, they are very traditional, they are conservative, they are definitely family oriented. Yeah, that means in both cultures you respect your parents a lot. Not only that, also in our culture we are respecting our parents, but in these Asian cultures, what both cultures actually share is that Filipinas as well as Vietnamese girls, they respect their parents in the way that they have much more authority. The parents still have a lot to say in the family, you know. So what the parents say basically is law, to put it in kind of that way, okay? So respect for the parents, but also fitting into the community. This is a very common mindset, not only in the Philippines or in Vietnam, but also in other Southeast Asian countries. Respect for the elderly is very, very important in both cultures, and you will also notice that when you actually travel to these countries and live there. And very important, of course, are the female values. These the Filipinas as well as the Vietnamese women, they stand for true female values. Both ladies are very feminine. Yeah, this is what makes them so attractive for many Western men, especially men from the United States. These times where I hear also horror stories going on, and so since Asian women are way more feminine, that makes them way more attractive to many Western men, right? I also talked about this in other videos. And of course, Filipinas as well as Vietnamese women are very loving, very caring, very affectionate. They are cute, sweet, and joyful. And this is what we Westerners like, right? They dress like a woman, they behave like a woman. Both of them are Filipinas and Vietnamese. Yeah, 98%. Yeah, dress like a woman, they behave like a woman, they have hobbies like a woman. You know, it's just beautiful. You know, I'm also attracted to that. You know, I'm not attracted so much to green-haired or red-haired, overweight, tattooed women from the West. It's simply not my taste. I don't want a woman who talks like a truck driver or something like that, you know, or has hobbies like a man, or is talking like a man, or is behaving like a man, or wants to pretend she is everything but a woman. So, but that's a different topic. Anyway, what are the differences now? What are the differences between Vietnamese women and Filipinas? Obviously the looks, you know, the Vietnamese women, they look more like Chinese women, you know. We get to this in a little bit, because Vietnam and China, they share a common culture and history. Now, the second difference is their heritage. Yeah, Vietnamese culture, Vietnam, actually the Vietnamese folks, the Vietnamese people, they actually stem from southern Chinese people. And you can see this in their festivals, which they celebrate in Vietnam also. They celebrate Chinese New Year, yeah, which is called the Tet Festival in Vietnam. So the Vietnamese is highly and strongly influenced by Chinese culture. And the Philippine culture is highly influenced and was dominated over several hundreds of years by first the Spanish and then later the Americans. So the Philippines has a strong Western influence. Yeah. Also, what is very interesting is the religion. So in the Philippines, the Spanish, they brought with them the Catholic Church. So a lot of people in the Philippines, I think most of them are Roman Catholics. Not so in Vietnam. The Vietnamese culture is strongly influenced by Confucianism, by Taoism, and by Buddhism. Okay, and Confucianism plays a big role also in Vietnam. And therefore, in Vietnam, you have these so-called 3 obediences and 4 virtues, which are based in Confucianism. And these 3 obediences and 4 virtues actually apply to a Vietnamese woman. They still apply today because they are deeply rooted in the Confucian culture. What are these 3 obediences and 4 virtues? So 3 obediences mean that the Vietnamese woman is, when she is a little child, or let's say a teenager, or at least not a married woman, that she is obedient towards her father. Yeah. Once she is married, she is obedient to her husband. And once, let's say her husband passed away already and she has a son, then she will be obedient to her son. So this is the concept. The 4 virtues for a Vietnamese woman would be good household skills, beauty, appropriate speech, and moral conduct. And As a matter of fact, I know that many Vietnamese girls are still being raised that way with these 4 virtues in mind. And actually this is a very, very good thing. And I think this is also, this is the reason why many men actually prefer Vietnamese women over any other woman, because, and I can confirm this, I dated Vietnamese women. Yeah, the way they carry themselves and the view they have on certain things, this is really true. It makes them very, very attractive. Great marriage material, what other people have told me. Now, one major difference is the English level. And this is what turns many people off, you know, especially when you came straight from the Philippines. The English level is different than in the Philippines and Vietnam. Yeah, it's way harder to find English-speaking ladies. You probably have to live in Saigon if you wanna be lucky. Otherwise, it's gonna be difficult for you to really have a good and great conversation. Perhaps in Hanoi, you will find some educated women who speak English, but in places like Da Nang or Nha Trang, or you know, the middle of Vietnam, it can be very, very difficult and therefore really frustrating, you know, because communication is so important. You know, in the Philippines it's very easy, especially as a native English speaker, you know, for all these American guys. But even for me, I'm from Germany, yeah. English is not my mother tongue, as you might notice while I'm recording these videos, right? But I speak English because I also learned it, you know. And so when I travel to the Philippines, it's easy for me to communicate because I can talk and speak English, and girls and everybody else more or less speaks English to a great extent. So we know how important communication is. You know, if you want to crack jokes and wanna be funny and this and that, and it is very important in Asian culture, especially in the Philippines, that you can display some sort of humor, that you are funny, because this is their culture. Filipinos like to laugh a lot, and if you can make, like I think in any other part of the world, if you can make a woman laugh or smile, this is very, very important. And how do you do this? Yeah, you do this by language, right? And it's very hard. I can tell you this from my own personal experience. It's very difficult to crack spontaneous jokes with a Vietnamese girl when you have to use Google Translate, you know, like I had to do a few times, you know. This is on a completely different level. It can be very frustrating, you know, because on your ability to communicate effectively and properly depends your dating and pickup success, you know. I mean, if you have nothing to talk about, if you don't understand each other, what do you want to talk about, right? And therefore, this is also one difference between Vietnam and the Philippines, because the Philippines has a Western background, is way more Westernized. If this is a good or bad thing, I leave it open up to debate. This is not the topic of today's video, but it is for us Westerners, of course, way more convenient to travel to the Philippines and to date women there, not only because of the language, which is a result of the Westernization, but also they are still Asian. There's a lot of Asian culture in the Philippine culture, but still there is enough Westernization happening or happened already, which makes it way more comfortable for us guys to adopt, you know, and to get connected to these people. Then there is, in my experience, while I've noticed also another major difference. The Vietnamese women, in my opinion and in my experience, the entire culture actually in Vietnam is more disciplined. That probably has to do with the fact that Vietnam is still a communist country. You know, I grew up in a communist country up until I was 12 years old. I grew up in Eastern Germany, which was a communist part of Germany at the time. So And you know, the communists, they emphasize a lot on community building and discipline and all that kind of stuff. So this is certainly also the case in Vietnam, and this affects their mindset and their character and the way people behave and think. I also find that Vietnam itself is a way cleaner country than the Philippines. So there you can see, you can actually look into the minds of the people by just walking around, right, in the streets. I also find that Vietnamese people are more organized. That's definitely the case. And very important, the Vietnamese people in general, not only, but also the ladies, are way more money-minded, you know, business-minded. That also has to do with the culture, you know. The Chinese culture is the same. It's all about money, but in a different way. When I say money-minded and money-oriented, I mean, we all know, those of us who have traveled to the Philippines and have dated Filipinas, you know, we complain a lot about the greediness of Filipinas, you know, and that they cannot handle money, they are greedy, and they always run out of money, they are cheating and this and that. You know, these are these stories you always hear from many men who traveled to the Philippines and dated Filipinas. This is also what I experienced, you know, in my first years and visits. I made a lot of mistakes, you know. I don't even blame, I don't want to blame the Filipinas. This is just, I was not aware of certain dynamics, and I also had to learn my lessons. But you are, of course, very quick to judge other people, you know. So when we say, or when I say the Filipinas are money-minded, then many would agree and say, yeah, you're right. Yeah, they're greedy and they cannot handle money and they're always asking for money and blah, 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 right? This is what comes to mind. But when I talk about that the Vietnamese women are money-minded, I mean they are business-minded, you know. This is what the Chinese are also, you know. It seems the entire day they're just thinking about money and how to make money and I don't know what kind of business I can start. And this is what I'm talking about. Vietnamese people are way more savvy when it comes to business. They are business-minded, they are money-minded, they want to figure out how to make money, and the best way to do this is to start or open up a business, yeah. And you have, of course, many successful businessmen also in Vietnam and very rich people. Therefore, also the Vietnamese work ethic is different than the Philippine work ethic. In my experience, Vietnamese people are very hard working, yeah. Also the ladies, which is very good, you know. If you want to marry one, you don't want to marry a lazy bitch, right? You want to marry a hard-working woman, right, who can take care of her duties, you know, and things like that. And also the education in Vietnam, Vietnamese people, Vietnamese girls, they pay a lot of attention to education, you know. That is very important in their culture. And last but not least, I don't know if this is true. I mean, I've dated both categories of girls, but some men claim that the Vietnamese women have the sexiest body or the greatest body among Asian women. I mean, this is depends on everybody's taste, you know. For me, that is not so much a criteria for dating, you know. I don't look at the body only. So if some men claim that, then I don't know what you guys think about this. But also, you know, in general, many Filipinas are very sexy. They are slim, you know, they are not overweight. So I don't really know what these guys mean when they say the Vietnamese have the best and most attractive body. I don't really know. You have to tell me. Now, so who is the best marriage material? As I mentioned before, I'm not married to either one. But if I draw the bottom line here now, I would probably, for me, still go for the Filipinas, because I have way more dating experiences with Filipinas than Vietnamese women, and that also has to do with the facts I brought up in this video. Yeah, because of the communication problem and the openness problem, you know, Vietnamese women seem to be, they want to be more among themselves. They are not so much open to date Westerners. This is my impression. This is the feeling I get. Of course, you see mixed couples walking around, and there are Westerners who are married to Vietnamese women and they're living in Vietnam. This is all happening there, but not on that kind of scale like it is happening in the Philippines. Of course, we can debate why these Filipinas are looking for Western men, and I have made videos about this also, and I discussed this in more detail. And this is all up for debate, right? The real motivations and the real reasons why these Filipinas are actually hunting for Western men. But for me, due to the Western background in the Philippines, I just feel way more comfortable with Filipinas, for me personally, because of the language and the communication. I like to talk, I like to communicate, otherwise I would also not do these videos here. So yeah, and communication is just crucial for me, you know. So what should you do now? Yeah, what should you do now? You should do the same thing like I did or other expats did. Travel if you are interested and to find out. Don't just watch my video here or other videos and then take everything I say for granted. I'm just sharing my experience and also my opinion. Of course, that should help you in your future decisions, to give you some guidance, but at the end of the day you have to go to Vietnam yourself and try it out, and maybe you're lucky and maybe you like it even better there, you know. So you have to discover the country and find out, date the girls, meet the ladies, make mistakes, yeah, and improve your judgment, right? Also very important, give yourself some time to adjust. This not only applies for Vietnam or to the Philippines, but also to other countries. If you are a Westerner and you are coming first time to these countries and you hear all these stories, these success stories of Western guys who got married to Filipinas and they always say how sweet they are and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind that you are coming from a different cultural background. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Take it easy. Allow yourself time to adjust to the culture, not only to the weather and the climate, but also to the culture, to the different dating dynamics. In the beginning, you will be overwhelmed by so much beauty and sexiness in Vietnam as well as in the Philippines. So, and you need to practice, of course. Yeah, you need to practice dating. And this is what it actually boils down to. Dating is a skill, also in Southeast Asia. Don't make the mistake you think, you are the white guy with a big fat wallet and a huge bank account. Of course, it's going to be way easier for you to attract girls. But why they are attracted to you, this is what you have to find out, you know, why they are attracted to you. Is it really your personality or is it just your money? And you also will be up for a rude awakening, not only in the Philippines, but also in Vietnam. You have a lot of scammers in Vietnam. You have a lot of desperate women in Vietnam. Yeah, and you have a lot of poverty in Vietnam also. So there are many women who are actually just after your money and your wallet. And this is what you have to be able to discern. You have to improve your discernment, to your judgment. But you will learn this along the way by learning by doing, learning by dating. You will make mistakes, you will be disappointed, you will fail a lot probably, but this is the only way to learn. And since dating is a skill, dating Vietnamese women and dating Filipinas is a skill, you not only learn a lot about these women and their backgrounds and their families and their dating culture and the dating dynamics and how they tick and how they think, you know, and their psychology. No, yeah, you will all learn about this, but you will also learn a lot about yourself, your own shortcomings, your own maybe too high expectations or too low expectations, your own prejudices and your own judgments. You will learn about this as well, and you have to do also some repair work, I believe, you know. So this is a very interesting process I want to leave you today. I hope I could give you some guidance here. I could answer some questions. If not, let me know in the comment section as usually. And also, if you don't agree with me, no problem, let me know and we can debate it. For me, again, Filipinas are great women. Vietnamese are also in their own way great and interesting women. They are beautiful, they are very good looking. Yes, they have a great body and they have high ambitions. They are educated and they are business and money oriented, so success oriented, and that's a good thing. This is what you want to have when you marry someone, right? But for me, I think at the end of the day, I still prefer the Filipinas. So with that being said, I'm checking out for today. I'm looking forward to your comments. Take care. Bye bye.